Hit it, Craig. Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting, 2nd of March 2022. We have two apologies, or one leave of absence, I think, from Councillor Fox, and one apology from Alderman Barakis, and we don't have anyone to co-opt. So moving on to item 2, confirmation of minutes. Anyone? Thanks, Alderman Burnett.
So moved, Chair.
Any dissent? None. Declare those carried. Item 3, consideration of supplementary items. We don't have any. Item 4, indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. No. Item 5, transfer of agenda items. No. Item 6, reports. Item 6.1 is petitions, Hague Street and Augusta Road, Lena Valley, and we have one deputation. Thank you. From Dustin Moore. Would you like to come up and give us your deputation? So you're speaking with regard to the Augusta Road.
Correct. That's
petition, not the Hague one, just
that's
Augusta
correct.
Road.
Yep.
So you've got 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then we'll ask questions after that if we think of any.
Okay, great. I'll try not to read my paper, but I didn't do debate club, so this is probably a bit of a different experience for me. So thank you, committee members, for giving me the opportunity to speak to this item, which I've raised previously with council staff in May and October last year. I'd like to start off with acknowledging that while I work in the transport industry and interact with council staff on a professional basis, I'm here in my capacity as a resident of Lena Valley. When I was made aware of the last Friday afternoon of this report being made available for tonight's meeting, I jumped to read the recommendations. It had been several months since first coming to this committee, so surely there was some good to be read. However, as I read the report, I admit I was dismayed at the lack of progress staff was suggesting to occur within a reasonable time frame to address the concerns raised by the petition and thereby the community. I don't disagree with the staff's suggestion that local area mobility plans or LAMPs are a needed project, especially for Lena Valley. It's worth even noting that tonight's got an item about a Lena Valley traffic management plan review, which would obviously benefit a Lena Valley LAMP.
Excuse me, Chair. Could you take off your mask if you're happy with that?
Yes, yep.
A little bit hard.
Is that better? Sorry.
Yeah,
yep.
Thank you.
While LAMPs are a tool to analyse and solve problems of a suburb that many times are not available or visible at a city scale, the report suggests that LAMPs are being planned to be undertaken for the various Hobart suburbs in the coming years. That's coming years, plural. What do we think could happen potentially in Augusta Road in that time? I strongly anticipate that a Lena Valley LAMP will confirm that Augusta Road will continue to act as an arterial road for Hobart and that it will continue to play a movement function for private vehicles, buses, cyclists, freight and pedestrians. It's the most direct route to the Lena Valley retail precinct, town and North Hobart. It connects us to John Turnbull Park and the Lena Valley Primary School. However, this doesn't mean the road can't have a place function as well. I would like to see, and the community would like to see, some solutions for Augusta Road. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, so let's keep going with Augusta Road issues. I implore the committee members that you request council staff to begin the discussion about how to continue to make Augusta Road an even safer and more attractive place, not hold off on a few more years until a LAMP is started. We've just learned over the last 2 years the real need and positives of being shovel ready when external funding presents itself. Back to the report. I did begin to see some positives of the report as I read it. The report does respond to 2 of the actions requested by my petition, to which I thank council staff. Specifically, there was information in the report about vehicle speeds and crash data, requests 1 and 2. The report acknowledges Augusta Road's function as an arterial road in the Hobart road network. It also acknowledges that actions in the past on Augusta Road have achieved better safety and accessibility for pedestrians, improved safety for vehicles, lowered vehicle speeds, and thereby reducing risk and severity of crashes, and lastly facilitated a future stage involving the installation of bicycle lanes. And importantly to note, Augusta Road has continued to function as an arterial road. There have been no fatal negative impacts on its function with these changes. What this report doesn't do, however, is acknowledge the need to review this section of road with a safe systems approach, which is my 3rd request in the petition. I admit that the report provides comment on previous ideas of more significant cycling infrastructure, which were not pursued. However, Safe Systems is more than just contemplating cycling infrastructure. It's focused on maximising safe mobility for all road users. It acknowledges safe system failures rather than focusing on poor road user performance, such as speeding, inattention, or risk-taking. A Safe Systems approach is different to conventional road safety. It's an approach that the City of Hobart Transport Strategy themes document specifically articulates as a guiding principle, Vision Zero and the Safe Systems approach. Specifically, Action 8.2 of the Transport Strategy states that the Council is to manage and upgrade our transport network using a Safe Systems approach with reference to the Australian Government's National Road Safety Strategy. Where is this evident in this report to the committee? What I'm asking is that this committee follow through with the actions committed to in the City of Hobart Transport Strategy. Action 9.1 even specifically states that Council is to continue to proactively identify opportunities for funded partnerships with the Tasmanian Australian Government to address issues and progress actions identified through the development of this transport strategy. What I'm asking this committee to do is make decisions that will assist achieve the 2050 vision for Greater Hobart. Make Lenna Valley a great place to live, safe and welcoming, have better active transport and contribute to health and well-being.
30 seconds.
By not doing anything for the next 3 years, we're not helping make Hobart better or Lenna Valley. We're continuing with the same traditional approach to transport management that has got us here in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Committee. Deputy Lord Mayor, do you have any questions? No questions?
I've got a question.
Go ahead, yep.
So I'm just wondering, your proposal would be that, I sort of think it would be good to have a slightly more proactive motion from committee, something like, that council requests city mobility starts a local area planning process with the Lenna Valley community as a matter of priority. But I just wondered whether you're proposing, Mr. Moore, about whether whether it's that the local area mobility plan should start more judiciously and be, we sort of get moving on it, or whether you're proposing just an Augusta Road key transport corridor focus. Because I think the sort of idea is that, you have your LAMP kind of looks at the key corridors, but also looks at the things happening in the streets around as well, like the Hague Street request. But I guess what my question is, would you be happier if we kind of were requesting that the LAMP process got moving faster rather than it being kind of referenced but sort of kicked down the road? Sorry for the pun, but or are you proposing that it's an Augusta Road focus?
Through the chair, I'm understanding that council staffing resources can be constrained at times and recognise that LAMPs can be quite onerous. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that's the first go-to. It would obviously be ideal if there was capacity to do that, but what I'm stating is that Augusta Road function is not going to change in the mobility plan, so I believe that there should be capacity in council to continue to plan a safer Augusta Road without a finalised LAMP.
Okay, and
well, I guess there's already evidence in items that are identified for Augusta Road, like separated cycleways, in approved documents that council already has. They've proposed cycleways on Augusta Road. The street tree strategy is out there, and I don't know whether it is. I've asked questions internally or sent emails to the people who are managing that strategy, but I would assume that there's already ideas around vegetating Augusta Road. There's ideas around cycling. We know that DDA compliance is necessary, so we know we need to have better pedestrian crossings and even the crossings of the side streets. So I believe it's all there for Augusta Road, potentially not for the rest of the streets.
Okay. And did you have any, did you sort of, I guess, get the sense from the staff report that really there aren't major issues on Augusta Road? Was that what do you think that was the sort of the gist of the report?
Through the chair again, I'm not disagreeing that the statistics have definitely lowered. They're not significant, but what I'm suggesting is that council has approved a zero vision, and we should be trying to get to no crashes, not just say it's those medians get run over every now and then and that's just a thing that we deal with. It's a safe systems approach does try to get zero as a number rather than just 67% less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, sure. And I guess the safe systems approach is trying to sort of also change not just safety, but is it also trying to change mode share and encourage other users onto feeling sort of that they can use these key collector roads, or I think they're called collector roads.
Yeah, yes, 100%. And there's already within the strategies that council's approved, there's already recognition that separate cycle lanes do change people's mode habits and behaviours and willing to take certain risks because there are less risks involved. So I believe that there's all the strategies and all the commitments already within council. It's just obviously recognising the workload of staff, but I do believe that Augusta Road doesn't necessarily need to be put on hold for when looking at the mobility of the whole area.
Go on. Yep, Deputy.
Thank you, through you. Thanks for your deputation and your interest in this particular part of the city. And I take your point that, you know, like that zero tolerance to having accidents is something that is dear to my heart as well. We made a commitment as a council the other day, which was a motion from Councillor Harvey in relation to expediting some of the cycling infrastructure, which I think is, I wasn't sure, were you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah, and it seems to me what you're suggesting is that there's some, you know, like everything is in place, it's just a matter of getting it all connected and to making it happen. Do you see, just in relation to two things in relation to speed, so what do you envisage would be an ideal speed along there as a medium?
Through the chair, I'm not a road engineer, so I'm reluctant to answer that question. I'm conscious that it appears that the staff report sort of responds with 85th percentile is within 53 kilometres. Again, I'm not a road engineer, but doing some quick digging, that's not the safe system approach anymore. It's not looking at the 85th percentile. So, yeah, I'm hesitant to say what the setting a speed would be appropriate, because I don't think, from my understanding of the safe system approach, it's not about setting speed, it's about designing the road network or the road reservations so that that speed just is an innate thing that gets lowered rather than setting a
And it's 50 k's along there anyway.
It is 50 at the moment. So we're still waiting for that section of retail precinct to get the digital signage to allow it to be 40.
Yeah. And so that's on, you know, that's in the pipeline. So
correct.
The other question that I have is in relation to, was it sunlight being a problem at that particular crossing as well? Am I getting...
So through the chair, that's not, so I do live right at the crossing, and so look right on it, and all of the 3 incidences where they've gone through the pedestrian refuge, crashed through the pedestrian refuge, were not during the hours of sunlight being in eye, so I don't believe that's an issue. But again, it's really about the design. They shouldn't be flying through there it shouldn't really matter. They should be aware. It's the safe systems approach of not, it's designing the road so that driver and behaviour isn't impacted. And even if sunlight is there, we know it's always going to be there, so let's design the road so that it actually can function properly.
Yes, yeah, okay, all right, well, yes, thank you. You've answered some of my questions. Okay, thank you. That's all from me, Chair.
Thanks, Deputy. Mr. Moore, how would you be happy if we could come up with a time frame, maybe not tonight, but some sort of commitment that says the lamps are going to occur, the design of the lamps or whatever the structure is next year, or just so you've got an idea of when this work can be done, when it will be done, because it's going to happen. It's just what's the time frame? And I know the Hague Street one as well is I see that as urgent as well. But everywhere is in the same situation. Everywhere you go, you've got to keep your wits about you, because there's no tolerance. If you make a mistake, if you're not conscious of where you are, you'll get cleaned up. So the way I see this is it's going to happen, and if we could present it with a timeline, would that give you a bit of comfort that you know it's coming within a particular time period, rather than we're all died of old age and we still haven't got it, Would that help?
I mean, obviously that would give some solstice to the community, I would imagine, but I think putting a time frame on a plan that we're not sure if council staffing resources are available to do is a little, it's not disingenuous, but it's a response that doesn't potentially lead to action. So yes, setting a time frame would be helpful, but again, it's probably not my suggested response to start action on Augusta Road. I think there's already too many traffic management plans that have, I know they're different from the urban mobility plans, but traffic management plans that are meant to be suburb specific haven't necessarily progressed, and they've been on the cards for a while. So I'm just conscious that there's already some instances where plans that said they would be done in a certain time frame and they just haven't been done. So
again, that comes down to resourcing. We could spend the entire energy of the council just doing the local area management plans for traffic. So very challenging, and that's why things happen so slowly, because it's just not the resources. But the horizon, I think I'd like to understand. For example, the Yarn Gal stuff was a 10-year horizon, and it's been delivered. No one probably noticed most of it, but it's all of those things occurred within 12 years. 10 years.
I guess what I'm suggesting is that if council staff could at least come and speak to the community about Augusta Road and start setting some ideas aside that work in conjunction with safe systems approach, we're at least on the forefront of when we start getting to concept design and detailed design. I believe that waiting again until a local urban mobility plan is actually formed, we're already really far behind the 8 ball, and we already have all of the elements that are going to be input into the mobility plans. I'm not suggesting that tomorrow we're going to get funding for separate cycleway or additional street trees. I just believe it would be beneficial to the community to have at least the discussion started, elements that are acceptable to the community and to council to potentially do on Augusta Road. That way you're being proactive in your potential funding options.
But okay, all right. We'll talk more with the officers here. Thanks for your deputation tonight.
Thank you.
So I'll open the item for discussion. Does anyone have any questions for our directors?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Through you. So I suppose what we've heard is that you know, there's bits that are happening or discussed. Is there any way that it could be better joined up, or that those conversations could start occurring in relation to the concerns raised? Through I don't know who I'm talking.
Anyone?
Through you, Chair, we'll ask the officer to perhaps just share his view on how we could do that.
Again, through the chair. So just to clarify the question, is it sort of asking if there's a way we could go and start having those conversations with the residents and stakeholders?
And those concerns about it all sort of being joined up. You know, it's not just about the through traffic, but it's about how everything works in that space.
Yeah. I think that the comment I would make is that the aim of the LAMP process, and there are different definitions for how you want to, define what's in and what's out, and that'll be a decision that council will make in setting it up. But the intent of it isn't so much to determine, which road are going to be arterial and which road are going to be for this and for that. It's about working with the community to generate essentially a list of priorities and a list of projects that they would like to see in their local area, and coming up with a way to weight those projects, sort of the benefits of each of them. And when we're able to do that, and in our ideal world, we have one of those for every suburb, so that the funding that we can get, we almost have an agreed priority list, as much as you can do with anything, because things change. You have an agreed list of priorities that you could essentially work down to deliver, I guess, the most value to the community for the dollars spent. That's really, I think, the goal that I would like to see from that process. It's working with the community, the schools, the retail areas and the residents, to work with them about what they see as their priorities in the streets. Is it landscaping? Is it cycling infrastructure? Is it pedestrian infrastructure? Is it road humps? And there can be all sorts of projects that address, that have some will have benefits for all road users, some will have benefits for cyclists and maybe detriments to others, and you sort of work through those things and you try and come up with a ranking system to help to allocate those processes out. Because the great difficulty I think that we have, and I won't speak for much longer, I apologise, the great difficulty we have is because there are streets like Augusta Road that, yes, would benefit from a lot more work being put into it. We put in essentially a scheme in 2013, so not that long ago, but quite a long time ago in terms of the way we're planning things as a city, where we went in and we did apply, in our view, the safe system approach, in that we designed it to reduce speeds, we designed to assist pedestrians, we designed it to assist road users, and we worked with the community on it. But we had a very limited budget and we had a very limited amount of time to do it, and if we had our time again, we'd probably do it differently now. But then there are all sorts of other streets that have never been looked at all, have had no benefit of that. And the difficulty is, how do you, when a good idea for a project comes in, you're really looking at ways that you rank it against all those other priorities, because it's just very difficult to do. Sorry, I won't take up. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, no, it shows how complex it is. So thank you.
Lord Mayor? Yep.
A couple of questions. One is, would you agree that the Augusta Road corridor is possibly one of our, potentially more challenged corridors in the coming years, given, it is a local road, not a highway, not a sort of state road, and it seems to be getting the additional traffic from some sort of subdivisions out the sort of west of the Glenorchy municipality.
Yeah, you have a go.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Look, like all our roads, it's under increasing pressure. I think there are other roads that are probably under more pressure, but it's certainly going to get under increased pressure and would benefit from being looked at.
So I'm just curious, what else, like in terms of local collector roads with a sort of growing commuter feeder population, what's a comparable collector road in Hobart that you think
Yeah, through the chair, I'd think Cascade Road, sort of, and Macquarie Street through South Hobart. There would be great benefits there, I think, in terms of putting time into that. I think Collins Street in the city serves a collective function and generates huge amounts of pedestrian and cycling use. And I think one of the best projects that we would be looking to do to put our time towards is to work out how to improve cycling facilities along that and to have separated cycle routes through there to link the new signals to the city. I think that would be 2 examples.
Yeah, I sort of see them as, well, I personally see them as slightly different to the question, which was more about, you know, a growing catchment, building catchment outside the municipality that seems to be coming into Augusta Road, which I don't think would apply to Collins or Cascade a little bit, but there's not the same sort of subdivision stuff happening up in South Hobart, Ferntree, that I'm aware of at this stage.
Mm. All right. Committee, we've got a time limit. How do you see this? Does anyone support the motion that's before us, or have anyone got any amendment to that motion? But before anyone else, I'd like to say, when will the LAMPS process happen? Is there a deadline or a timeline for that to occur? And do we want to do everywhere and then present it as a great voluminous report, or are we going to start somewhere and work our way across the city? What's the process? Anyone know?
Through you, Chair. So we're in the process at the moment of a recruitment for our manager mobility, of which the first key action for that person will be what is the strategic approach to mobility and the order at which we will attempt to have a look at those strategies over the next 12 months. In the interim, it is our goal to perhaps draw on other resources to help us establish a prioritised roadmap.
Mm.
But in terms of being able to fix a certain time period, right at this moment, we're not in a position to do so.
Mm.
Chair,
Hold on, I've got one more question, Lord Mayor, and I'll come back to you. Is there an opportunity for the community to take the lead on some of these things without too much council resources? Those community representatives or members who are interested in these topics, could they not start forming their views and opinions on the big map just as a bit of a head start to say, well, when we need to go out and do that engagement stuff, there's a lot of thought already gone into it? Because one of the things I'm starting to realise is councils can't do everything, and that if the community want to see certain things happen, they need to take a bit of responsibility and then be able to feed that back to council. But a deep dive they need to do into their own communities to say, well, you know, what do we really want here? If we want to have cycle lanes, then let's make a decision that we would like cycle lanes, rather than say, let's put that on the table and then we'll have a shit fight about it later. But let's get the battle out of the way beforehand to say, well, this community would love to have cycle lanes here, and you know, we've got everybody on board. This community would love to have A, B, C, D, E and F and G, and we've worked out what we think, and then here it is for the council to add to the process, rather than starting it from zero and asking what you want, you know, and maybe we've got a really good head start. Is there some way of doing that, just to take the heat off council having to organise everything all the time? You know, a community generated process.
Chair, look, might need to take that on notice to a point. I think, of course, it's possible.
I mean, they can just do it anyway, yeah. Well,
that's right. I guess what we need to make sure is that it is done in a way that we still manage expectations. So that, if you know the community go off in a direction and start to prioritise, that there is still that good tie back to what council and council staff are doing, because we don't want to be in a position where council, you know, seem to be over promising and under delivering. Because I think that absolutely, if the communities can self-organise, of course that is always super helpful. There still needs to be I guess, some type of framework wrapped around that, just so that we can absolutely manage expectations properly.
Because there's a process going on in South Hobart to do with one of the actions from the Sustainable Hobart Action Plan. Is that a model that could happen not just with sustainability but with mobility as well, so that you've got a really engaged community in every suburb that are really focused and
As the chair, it's like, you know, like that participatory democracy model, which can provide dividends. And I know there's examples at Brisbane where there is a certain amount of money for projects, and the community makes that decision as to how that's going to be spent. Informed decisions, but that's how it works. So,
yeah.
So, Chair,
I've got to come back to Lord Mayor. She was
I'll need to go.
having a hand up. Yeah, Lord Mayor, you, and then
No,
Deputy.
No, Deputy can go first.
Okay.
Chair, I'm just, Chair, I have to leave in about 2 minutes, so.
Well, then we've got no quorum.
Yeah, you won't have a quorum, so if you want to finish this item, we should move something if you're happy to.
Well, no, you need to move it.
I've got some. I mean, I've got some suggestions, but it would be that, you know, council request that City Mobility starts a local area mobility planning process with the Lena Valley community as a matter of priority or something. And the other thing that seems to have come up is that request that staff consider whether Augusta Road could be considered or assessed for plantings under the street tree strategy. That seemed to come up as something that I'm not sure whether Augusta Road's had that eye over it.
Lord Mayor, I don't know whether, with only 1 minute left, whether we should put up a motion that we're all not quite clear about. And I'm thinking that maybe we defer this until another meeting, or we defer it to a workshop when we've got all 5 of the committee here, because it's a bit tricky having 3 of us here putting forward an alternative motion without having a better discussion around it. So could we defer this, please?
And perhaps, Chair, you know, like one of the things that concerns me is that, you know, like what gets bumped if we put this up as a priority. You know, I know that we want to help facilitate this action, but yeah, I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to be the smartest thing to do.
We've got a similar one with Federal Street that there's a lot to say about that. Well, are you happy to defer this?
Yeah.
You've got any objections with that, just so we can do it a bit more justice?
Yeah, that's actually a good outcome, because as you've heard Ms Cooper say, I guess we're right in the midst of the transformation and bringing in new resources. I actually think from an administration point of view, that's very helpful. Okay,
all right. Well, can I have a deferral motion, please?
So
thanks, Councillor Burnett. Any objections? No, declare that carried. So this is deferred to the next time. Federal, the trees in North Hobart, as you're leaving the room, would someone like to move the recommendation that we just fix what's there?
Yep, happy to do that. Did you have anything? Oh, sorry.
All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? No questions without notice. Can we? There's nothing in the close. Well, okay. Can I just quickly move? We go into the. Sorry, I've got to go through the other ones. We need to finish the meeting. Sorry. Item 7, status report. Alderman Burnett, thank you. Any dissent? No. Questions without notice? There being none. Could someone
Yeah,
go on?
I've got a few, but we'll just have to do them another time.
Yeah, we'll have to do another time. Yeah.
I haven't got time.
All right. And we're in the close now.